Thank you for joining me today, and what a beautiful day it is, and welcome to the Church Fathers' view to ordination of Catholic women. Today we're going to be looking at how indeed in one document called Inter Insignoris of 1976, the admission of women to the ministerial priesthood refers to the Church Fathers being unfavourably prejudiced towards women. However, this did not in any way, it goes on to say, affected the direction spiritually or pastorally of the Catholic Church. I'm afraid I don't agree with that. I believe these prejudices from the past are still influencing the future in relation to women's roles. So let's have a look indeed what the Church Fathers did say and what type of unfavourable prejudices were there. Well, if we look in the Book of Gratian of 1100 AD, we will find where indeed it was a collection of the gospel writings and scripture after Jesus died, of the theologians and of the Church Fathers' influence. So let us see what they actually said about ordaining women. Women are unfit to receive ordination, for ordination is reserved for perfect members of the Church, since it is given for the distribution of grace to other men. But women are not perfect members of the Church, only men are. Add to this that woman is not an image of God, only man is. It is fitting that woman does not possess the power of the keys, because she is not made in the image of God, but only man, who is the glory and image of God. That is why a woman must be subject to man and be as his slave, and not the other way about. Now in this time, ancient Roman law was patriarchal. Unfortunately, we see this being brought into the Christian church, into the ancient Christian church, where women are told to be subservient to their husbands, that they aren't made in the image of God, that they cannot become deaconesses before the age of 40. Well, that shows that indeed there were deaconesses, that they cannot become priests. Many rules that the women were subjected to that the men weren't. Now, there is no excuse for the Church Fathers, for the leaders of the Church, to be treating women in this way. They were following the gospel message. To be treating women, worshippers of God, in this way, where indeed the men were not being subjected to the same rules as women, that women were seen as not in the image of God, and indeed that women were imperfect males when it came to being ordained. Now, I know some of you might be saying, well, this was quite a while ago. And the church has changed. In many ways, the church has changed. But in relation to women's roles of what is seen today as leadership roles, deaconesses and becoming priests, consecrating the Eucharist, being involved heavily in decision making, and in particular in the synods, where the vote of bishops, priests, cardinals, and those to lay people, especially women, are seriously outnumbered. Now, in our baptismal rite, in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, it says, under number 1267, from the baptismal fonts is born the one people of God, the new covenant, which transcends all the natural or human limits of nations, cultures, races, and sexes. For by one Spirit we were all baptised into one body. And indeed it goes on to talk about the priesthood in 1268. By baptism they share in the priesthood of Christ in his prophetic and royal mission. It does not say in the baptismal rite that only men should be baptized, that only men enter the new covenant. It does not say in 1268 that only men can be part of the royal priesthood. Indeed, 1 Peter 9:2 says that we are all of the one priesthood. I believe that one of the reasons that Pope Francis is finding it so difficult to uphold women's roles in relation to consecrating the Eucharist and deaconesses is because of the Church Fathers' prejudice that are being cited in this particular document of Inter Insignoris. And you might be thinking, well, what's it got to do with me? So I'm going to be a very short précis for you. I was called to be ordained and consecrate the Eucharist over 20 years ago. I'd like to reiterate to you that when I was called, it was also revealed to me that I would not be consecrating the Eucharist or be ordained within the Catholic Church until the Catholic Church was renewed. Now, you might be thinking that's quite extraordinary and revolutionary, but if you actually look in the document, Pope Francis's first beatific letter, Evangelium Gaudium of 2013, you will indeed see that he talks about the missionary option, and that missionary option is of renewing both the laity and the papacy's roles. So indeed, it's not that revolutionary. However, that was over a decade ago. And what has Pope Francis actually done in relation to his missionary option?